fear. I'm from Black America, it's just another year. You knew the disrespect by your elected puppeteers, but let me show you how to persevere.
You're live.
There's a difference.
We are live. What's going on, everybody? It's the Nitty Gritty Show. It's your boy behind the scenes, Jay DeCosta. Katniss is also behind the scenes right now in the chat. With us, we got some esteemed guests. We're talking about dating. It is the fellas edition. Yes. We've been waiting for this. So we're going to skip past current news, but y'all know that it was HTTC today. Hail the Commanders. We did that. We beat them boys. And y'all know Cat's from Cleveland and the Browns won too, so we pulled that off. Let's go. But we're going to get right to it, man. Dating is a serious conversation in today's society. We had the ladies on a few months before. We got some fine, esteemed brothers in the building. I can't wait till they share their name. That's going to be a little funny. Speaking of sharing names, let's start doing introductions right now. Starting from the far left in the black and white shirt. Yeah. Introduce yourself. You can tell them where they can find you or what you do. You know, that's on you.
Sure. My name's Raphael. I currently reside in Baltimore, Maryland. You can find me on Instagram, CEO Raph. And yeah, I work in the tech industry. That's pretty much all about me.
Cool. Next, yes.
My name is also Raphael from Baltimore, Maryland.
Yeah.
And I'm also in the tech industry as well. I'm a cloud engineer.
That's what's up. Yeah, you know. These is good careers right here, ladies. Yeah. Good careers. So when they say that these brothers ain't out here working, I got 2 BMWs right in front of me. All right? They're saying it's 700 series. You know what I'm saying? That's the low end. And that last but not least, on the far right, the lovely lady.
Vickye Hayter. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. You can find me on Instagram at Vickye Hayter, or actually you could just Google search me and I'll come up.
There you go.
Yeah. Like, you can always say Google me, right? Yeah, Google me. I'm out here. So, you know, we're going to dive right into it quick. You know, normally we have a little bit of preamble in the Nitty Gritty show. We ain't going to do that tonight. We're going to go right to it. I guess the first question I got to ask, and then Vickye, I want to know kind of like what your expert opinion of what you see. In your profession. But I'll start with you, Raph.
Yeah.
Raphael in black. What do you think, and you know, this can be personal or just, you know, what you see from bros, you know, stuff like that. What do you think is the biggest challenge right now when it comes to dating from a male perspective?
There's a lot of challenges, right? But I think the most is just expectations, right? And expectations from a perspective of like how much you need to make, how much you need to provide, how much you need to, what kind of car you gotta drive. I feel like their culture, social talk, people, their friends and stuff like that, like they have a fantasy, sometimes worldview of men. And so like, I think as men, we're constantly trying to like, combat that. Y'all probably heard the story, like you be one-on-one with a girl and like everything is okay, she's fine, she's cool, and then now talk to her homegirls and talk like, oh no, like maybe this isn't enough, or maybe this isn't what I'm looking for. So I think like expectations, especially from a society norm, is probably like one of the hardest things that men probably battle with.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then also I want to bring up ages too, because I think, you know, like women, they need to understand like this the age gap, so that they realize we're covering. Raph, if you don't mind sharing with everyone your age.
Yes. I'm 28 years old.
And then Raph, I want to hear from you, but also your age.
44.
All right, so same question to you. What do you think is the biggest challenge with dating?
I don't know, man.
And black don't crack, by the way.
The biggest challenge. I guess being on the same page may be that. You good?
No, yeah, you good.
Okay.
My bad.
Getting on the same page with each other, I guess I feel like acceptance is important.
That's good.
Acceptance.
You know, just like
that's really good.
Not necessarily. I think a lot of people try to get the people that they are involved with to be who they want them to be, who they think they should be, or who they want to be with, and they already are. You know, either you're good with that or you're not. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people have challenges with that.
Got it.
Yeah.
Can I touch on that?
Yeah.
Off that real quick, like that. I'm gonna need to change my answer to that because that just really like struck a nerve. And not to get too personal, but like I know I've been in a previous relationship where like I didn't feel like I was being accepted, and where even just like small things. Like, let's say like you are dating someone and you usually talk on the phone, and then now all of a sudden like you don't feel like talking on the phone this night, and then so now it's like, dang, I gotta be like, let's just talk on the phone. Or can I be like, no? Are you gonna get mad? Are you gonna accept this? It's gonna turn into something bigger? Like, or are you just gonna like, can I just be me? You know what I mean? And so like, I think when you're in that space to like fully be accepted, like even on your days when you aren't your best, or like that's like really, really big. I think like not even from a male perspective. I think that's really just a relationship perspective. Like you have to understand each other's humanity. And so yeah.
I love that.
Like that.
Yeah.
You have to understand each other's humanity.
So Vicky, you know,
Love
from the expert sitting in the building, you know,
Yeah.
that's the psychology of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I agree with them that to me, they kind of work together, acceptance and expectation. So I do think that on both sides, it's just a relationship thing that happens. People have expectations, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure men have expectations
Yeah.
of the kind of woman they have. And I think for black men, maybe the challenge is, is this man on my level? Like you were saying, oh, is he driving a certain kind of car? Or she read things based on maybe other people's views sometimes. But I think we all come with expectations.
Yeah.
So you kind of want to be able to have good skills to figure out can we align?
Yeah.
Right? If you know and it's interesting because I have sons, so if you know you're talking to somebody who all of a sudden all that matters is what did you pull up in, how many figures. I mean, people do that, and women give me the same thing. He wants to know what I do, how much I make, blah blah blah. I think it's where we have come to as African American people too, though. It's always we're trying to build this and everybody wants to create wealth and build a history and all that for their family, so I totally get it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, is it really more to it than that?
Yeah.
And so accepting that what if it's not all about how much we make together? What do we really want outside of that?
Yeah.
What do we value together? What do we really want to build?
Yeah.
I had people who, men in particular, they were really about building wealth, generational wealth, and I get it. But so much so that they jeopardize the relational aspects of even being a father to their kids, being around, cultivating a healthy relationship with their spouse. So sometimes it's out of sync. It's not prioritized the same for the guy and the girl. So I think you have to get to a place where you find somebody that you both align your values.
For sure. No, I think like you said, like, you can't just look at it from perspective of like you trying to accomplish your goals. Like you have to also, like we're talking about like a marriage, like you got to help your spouse accomplish whatever they want, satisfaction in their career. Like are you guys kind of like accepting and knowing each other, helping each other, pull each other away, or elevate each other? Because yes, you're building an empire on wealth, but you're building an empire on like your values, how you want to raise your kids, how you're being viewed in your community, if that's like important to you and stuff like that. Like you want to be known for your generosity, like what are you doing towards like giving back and stuff like that. So it's a whole plethora of things, and sometimes we focus on things that we think are important, but they're not really. It's just because we've been taught this, or like this is how we learned it, right? And then it just goes on how it goes.
Yeah.
I like that. Another question, because y'all talking about, it kind of piggybacks really well off of that, which is, what are the qualities that, because I hear a lot of ladies ask this question, so, how are these guys picking the one? So what qualities are you looking for, or do you see that a lot of men around you are looking for something serious?
Yeah.
And then I guess in a secondary question to that, because it kind of comes together, what's the difference between someone you look at as a serious potential mate versus the person that gets put into the fun box? Because some girls are always kind of like, I'm always a side piece. I'm always secondary.
Yeah.
you know, I want to be a main chick, not a side chick, or you know, I want to be the main course, not the sides. So, what are some qualities you guys look for that you even see men just talk about that make that differentiator between, you know, possibly getting a ring or at least being acknowledged publicly as girlfriend versus, hey, you know, we just could go meet at the bar.
Yeah.
Can I throw in that a little bit around that same question?
Mm-hmm,
So I'm always wondering too, along that line, difference between what makes you casual date versus exclusive date.
Right.
Or do you go exclusive date usually because you're looking for the one,
Yeah.
or you typically just casual dating, meaning I'm kind of dating a number of people trying to just get to know and see
Yeah.
who I would like to exclusively date.
Yeah. You want to go?
He's like, I don't know.
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
For me, maybe it's we got about a 16-year gap between us.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm in a different place, and I feel like, you know, in my younger adult years, I was kind of sort of like doing that, like, you know, trying to find the one, and you know, I think the criteria may have changed with each experience, and because, you know, like sometimes you may not necessarily know what you do want, but after you experience certain things, you know what you don't want. And but at this point, I'm not. So there's not really much that I look for other than I want to actually like you. And I was explaining to him earlier that, you know, even more so than love. Because I feel like I need to want to be around you, to be with you. You know, you can love a person, not like them. You know what I mean? But
Yep.
you need to like them. So I need to like you. I need to have a good time with you. And I need to feel like you genuinely care about me.
Nice, I like that.
Yeah.
I don't care outside of that, like, you know, what kind of job you got or anything. That's not important to me.
Yeah.
And a lot of times men don't care about finance from that standpoint as much.
I just know that employment and careers, you know what I mean, are temporary. You know what I mean? Like, who's doing what they first started out doing still? Not many people. You know what I mean? Worked in different fields, and next year maybe something else. So I'm not going to base it on that.
Yeah.
But you'll always be the same person. You're always going to be you. So that's what I'm going to base my decision on. But it took me 44 years to understand that.
Yeah, no, that's good. I think for me, I've always kind of approached relationships that I had, not necessarily looking for the one. I think maybe you go into that like fairy tale, like there's one person out there in the world for me, and that's not just true. That's not true. At least I don't think it's true. I think relationships take work on both ends. Like, there's options. There's tiers of options. It could be a good option for you, but it still takes that other person to make it work. And so for me, I've always went into it like, I'm gonna put my best foot forward. My best foot forward is being committed, right? So that's how I see myself eventually being married. I'm gonna treat this relationship, whether I get hurt or not. Hopefully, I can be able to quickly discard that if it doesn't go that way. But for me, I've always wanted to be like, I want to be my authentic self. I can't control what that other person does or what that other person does or thinks, but all I can do is control me in this relationship and hope to be reciprocated and have that faith. For me, and going back to now the other question, I think I'm Christian, so first thing is we have to be of the same faith. That's just, you gotta know your values and what's important to you. I think you gotta stay true to yourself. So like that obviously attracts me, but that isn't just it. Like there's a lot of people that say they're Christian or they're faithful, and they act differently, or they don't actually like people. They're actually like, they'll say it on paper. So like it's also like, are you kind? Like that's like, it's such a small trait, but that's so big to me. Like, are you just like a kind person? Like, can you like, how do you treat your friends? Are you a good friend? How do you treat people that don't necessarily need anything from you? Waiters, stuff like that. So I'm kind of watching all that type of stuff, right? And like you were saying, like liking is important, but even just another trait to me is like, can I trust you? And I'll say this all the time, like in the biggest times in movies and stuff like that, it's never like, do you love me? The question is always like, the most like serious question is like, do you trust me? Right? Like that's so like, can I trust you? Like, have I seen you do something and take care of it well? Or like, that is really important to me. Is like being okay. This is someone I want to get to know a little bit more and expound on it that way.
That's dope. I don't think that a lot of ladies don't understand that men are paying attention more so than they realize.
Yeah.
And because a lot of times I think women are trying to decide if the man is quality, but the man is going to determine the relationship at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
And they're also paying attention and they're looking at those little things like,
Wow.
you know, how I like the fact that you said, you know, can I trust you? How will you tip? How will you treat other people?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because a lot of times, you know,
Not just
women
me.
are always like, how will you treat
Yeah.
your mama?
And
Right.
character is important too,
Yeah.
especially if you're thinking of having children, because this is going to be that mother.
Mother, you.
Right? And even if y'all don't work out, you need to know that
Yeah.
she's going to be. You can be amicable,
For sure.
You know what I mean, towards each other. You know what I mean, and you're gonna, you know, not really negatively impact your offspring, man, because
100%.
sometimes, you know, it goes that way, and you see people just going through it,
Yeah.
all because they're mad at each other.
Right.
Agree, 100%.
And Vicky, like some thoughts from that, from a therapeutic standpoint.
I love the way you guys explain what you're looking for, which really was more values again, attributes, character of the individual, and then like the common goals or values really around whether or not you're Christian, and kind of how you even actually enact being Christian instead of just talking about it. Right. You're observing them, and it's interesting because I'm now sitting there going, I wonder if women are realizing they're being observed like that. And we could be talking about the diversity of how men date too. Right? Because we can't assume that all guys think the same way.
No.
Right?
You don't.
Obviously, right? So it's interesting because women probably going, well, when I meet somebody, they don't act like blah blah blah, or they don't, you know. So it's wonderful to hear from this perspective.
Yeah.
I feel like that women don't get to hear very often.
Yeah.
Because their experiences tend to be more negative, and you guys have probably seen all the gender wars around men and women online about dating, bashing one another. It's a hot mess right now.
Now there's so much, like, I know for me personally, I'm looking like, how you talk to your mom? Like, that's like really big. Like, it's like the little things, like, like, hush up, or like, you talking to your mom all wild, or you gossiping, like, what? We may not even say nothing right then and there, but it's like, okay.
And I know why. I know why you look at that, man, because case in point, if you know, like most people's moms are like the number one person in their life. If you can do her that way, I ain't got a shot. You know what I mean? I know you don't care about, you know what I mean? This is me.
For sure.
You treat your mom bad, you know what I mean? You're a special kind of person. And I don't mean that in a nice way.
I mean, you know, talk about that. You know, like, I mean, this is really dope. I have another question on there that I wanted to bring up too. This was a big one because you guys are talking about how people treat folks. So then, what's the value of mental health when you're looking at a potential mate?
Oh yeah.
For yourself and for the other individual.
Yeah. Whew. I think at the core, there has to be some sort of self-awareness of where you are. Not saying you're perfect. I think speaking as men, but I don't know if I can speak this on behalf of men, but I don't necessarily know if we're looking for perfection, but we're looking for like growth. And I think the only way you can ever have growth is like you first have to understand and realize, can you be real with yourself and who you are? Like, I'm way more patient. I'm way more relatable. Like, hey, I at least have like this awareness. Like, I went through this as a kid, and this is why. I know this is not great, give me some time as compared to like you're in complete denial about it, you're combative about it, you don't really even understand. Like, I'm not saying you stay in this state of like making excuses, but like I think at least it starts there. Like that's a good sign to say, okay, like at least if you can know where you are. No one's perfect. I'm not perfect. No one comes to a relationship perfect. But like if I have a self-awareness of where I'm at, then okay, now we can at least build a foundation of like where we want this to go. So yeah.
Raphael?
Yeah. I like what you're saying. Because I think it's important for, well, one, mental health is very important because I don't want to, label anyone as crazy, but of course you don't want to end up with that problem.
Yeah.
But also someone who can, like you said, the self-awareness thing. Are you able to admit when you're wrong?
Ooh.
You know what I mean?
Say sorry.
And apologize for it.
That's a woman's kryptonite right
Can
there.
you accountability? Can you own, you know what I'm saying, your missteps and be like,
So
you know what?
Yeah.
I'm sorry for that. I shouldn't have did that, and I apologize. Or are you going to like do?
Yeah.
What do you say? Like become combative. For being called out. You know what I mean, for your whatevers.
Yeah, that's the one thing I love about my girl. Like, even when she's wrong, she'll be so quick to like fall on her own sword, if you will. I'll be like, baby, forget it. Like, we good. Like,
What's gonna
you
happen?
remorseful. Like,
Yeah.
there's no need for us to continue this conversation. It's cool. It's all love. Let's move on. But like, when you start like going back and forth, like, dang.
Just acknowledge that you know that was messed up. You know what I mean? We can move on.
Yeah.
I don't want to be left thinking that you think that was all right. Because we're going to have a problem.
And my namesake here, I don't know if this is true for you, but like I think for me, one of the biggest things as a man is also just like the desire to want to be heard, right? And sometimes like I think that's why we're saying like the acknowledgement is such a big piece, because like I feel like sometimes we don't feel like we're being heard in our relationships or maybe in our jobs or whatever. So we're hoping that a safe space could be for our relationship, for us to be heard, even be able to share those things. So when that's not being happening, it's like, damn, like what's the point of this type of thing?
Yeah, especially like if you're going to like cohabitate, you need to feel, like you said, safe space. You need to feel like, like this is someone I can be honest with.
Yeah.
I know, like I'm not in a relationship right now, but like sometimes when you are, you got like a circle of friends, like your boys.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? You go and talk to them about stuff you can't say to her.
Yeah.
Right? Well, I ain't gonna put you on the spot.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying, being in that space, like you may have grievances that you don't feel comfortable saying to your mate because like she's gonna become combative.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be that way though.
Right, exactly. That's what I mean. So if you can do that, and you know what I mean, and get a good response or reaction, a positive response or reaction, that's a keeper.
Yeah.
I like that. Vicky, automatically I'm thinking like I got to go to you at some point with this one. Because, I know a lot of times there's this expectation you hear a lot in social media and it's popular right now. They want these men working on their mental health.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
But then, ladies got to do the work too.
Right.
And something they both said was about, feeling like they have a safe place in their home.
Right.
Like home shouldn't be a place that I dread going to.
Right.
So I'm pretty sure this must come up at some point in therapy. How do you talk to men and women trying to, bridge the gap on an issue like this?
Right. So I really love what you guys are saying, because these things come up, especially in couple therapy, where partners want each other to be able to apologize, to be able to say when they're wrong. And that's super important for both to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Right? And also to be accountable, right? And you're right. Sometimes I don't think women realize that men want to be heard, but a lot of times men shut down too, or they kind of voice it from an angry place and no one really understands the core of what they're feeling, but it could be because they're crowded out before they can even get their words out.
Yeah.
But so for black men in particular, you guys, maybe you take it to your friends, but not that many come to therapy. So like you were saying, like you gotta have this self-awareness. So like if you have an understanding of kind of the things you've been through and how that's impacted you, you find that you're able to work through it better relationally, like when you're with other people. But if you haven't had the time to really reflect with that, because a lot of times we do too much internal work. And when you do internal work, it's you and the internal self talking. And then your perspective can be skewed. And so whenever any of us do that, we don't ever realize like other insight about, say, whatever thing that is impacting us. So I think that black men should come to therapy more. It's not a thing that we do. I have a few who are in therapy, and I'm so happy that little by little they're coming in. And I will say from couple therapy, I see way more black men in therapy than I do as just single black men, right? So, and hopefully they go to other black therapists or other male therapists, I'll just say. So I'm starting to see a little bit of that.
Yeah, you're convicting me right now because I've been telling my girl like most of this year I'm gonna go to therapy. And I have.
I'm letting you know, when they come, they stay in my therapy in particular, because it is a safe space.
Gotcha.
I don't just take a woman's side and just make this man feel like he obviously has no voice and he doesn't need to be understood. So I will say that when you get with the right therapist, right? I'm just saying, I see them stay in therapy with somebody they feel heard, they feel understood, and they also have an opportunity to work through the challenges in the relationship.
For sure.
I like that because the mental health thing is a big one, and I want to make sure is this being done right. Something that was a popular question from a lot of the ladies, so I wanted to bring it here. Is and I think this is good considering the age we have, right? What's a good age to settle down? Or is it more about age, or is it more about where a man feels where he's at professionally or where he's accomplished? So is it age driven or is it accomplishment driven? Because once again, y'all said earlier, expectations. Can you pay for this? Can you pay for that? So get your perspectives on that. Is it, if you're looking at a number, or are you looking more so at an accomplishment of self-fulfillment first?
So when I was in that chamber, I would say that it was accomplishment driven. Like I wanted to achieve a certain level of success before, I had, I don't want to refer to marriage or relationship as a distraction, but it does require your attention. And I just felt like I needed to get to where I wanted to be before I would be able to take my hands off the steering wheel and do other things. Or my foot off the gas rather. And now I feel like it's just about feeling like you're ready. You know what I mean? Like either you, and I don't even know if you're ready. Let me elaborate on that. So in my current headspace, I don't I'm not looking for that. You know what I mean? Like it's something that I can take or leave. And that's just where I sit now as a single man, having never been married, not having that. Once I have it, I may feel different, but as of at this moment right now, I don't feel like I have to have it. It's not something that I'm dead set against and would never do in a million years. But if it makes sense, you know what I mean? Meaning like I guess I would have to meet someone where I felt like I need you in my life. Not necessarily want you, but I need you here. And
I'm curious.
And I'm pretty happy, by myself in my solitude. So you would have to be adding value to what I already got going on.
I like that you said that.
Interesting.
I got a comment for that, but I want to hear it from Rob first.
No, go ahead.
No. Let me hear from you first, and then I'm gonna throw something in there because it's something that I've been saying a lot of on the Nitty Gritty show. They've heard it before.
Okay, gotcha. Man, I mean that's a tough question. Whether it's an age or an accomplishment thing. I'm not married. But I've seen and heard stories of people wanting to do both. Like when I hit a certain age or when I hit a certain figure, like, okay, now I'm going to settle down. And, you know, that's their prerogative. And, you know, I think you have to understand what works best for you. And so I'm always going to give that mindset. I think for me, and what I think is probably what helped me know, all right, now I'm not necessarily that I'm married, but that I want to at least start dating and dating intentionally and dating seriously. It's more so kind of like, basically what he was saying was like, am I at the point mentally where I'm also ready to sacrifice? Because I think a lot of times people don't think, okay, dating is supposed to be all smooth, all roses. Like, no, it's a sacrifice. And for those that are married, it's dying to yourself, right? It's literally saying, am I not even ready to, like, because you can hit a certain accomplishment and you still can't be ready to sacrifice that or or delay your goals for the sake of your spouse, delay your dreams. Like, so have you reached that point where, like, okay, I have now, not saying that you're dissatisfied with your life, but you're now you are making capacity to sacrifice on behalf of someone else, right? And so, like, I don't think that necessarily comes with an age thing or perspective thing. This literally comes with, like, when you make that decision, like, this is, all right, I'm good now. It starts with a choice. Everything starts with a thought. Like, it starts with saying, like, hey, I'm ready to do this. You think it, then you start making actions towards it, and it happens. So I think for me, I just reached that point where I was like, okay, I didn't like my single life as much as but I was like, even dating, I still realizing, like, it's harder than you think. It's harder than you think.
Say that again.
It's way harder than you think. And, like, so, like, have you considered the cost in going about it? A lot of people don't actually consider the cost. They just think, oh, this is going to go well. And it'll take time. So, yeah, I don't know if I answered the question. I don't necessarily know if I answered. But
I'm not talking about dating harder than you think, because women think men find dating easy.
Nah.
Yeah,
So I know you wanted to ask some, but I don't want to know about that.
When you say cost, are you talking about, like,
Nah, man, I'm just talking about, like, your pride. Cost, like, your pride, being right, cost of your preferences, because like, in dating, like, you would ideally want it for both of you guys to always be happy, right? Or not to say be happy, but to get your way in the situation. But sometimes it's like, not every battle, not every fight, so choosing your battles, right? And, like, that's a cost. Like, especially for me, I always want to be right. So like, am I ready to, like,
Not be right.
Like,
you know what else you gotta be ready to do? And I thought about this recently. Like, do people really think about what it means to, like, commit on that level?
Yeah.
Like, one, if you're somebody who's used to living alone, now you gotta share your space. You know what I mean? Your stuff may not be where you left it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm somebody who I'm noise sensitive. So, I like to come home, and when I want quiet, I got it. You know what I mean? You walk in the door and somebody's talking to you. Hey, give me a minute. I need to decompress. You know what I mean? And you have to, you live with somebody else now. It's not just your house. You know what I mean? Maybe you don't like that ugly painting, but she does.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She wants to put it up. You know what I mean? Like,
is it a big deal? Like,
one of my friends, you know, he got married a couple of years ago, and his wife was like trying to throw all his stuff. And he said, "What are you doing?" She said, "Well, it's just a, you know, whatever it was." And he was like, "No, that's mine. Like, what are you doing?" That you gotta be ready for that.
Yeah. I like that.
Ready
man.
to communicate, talk about feelings when one person may want to, the other person don't want to. Like, I don't want to.
And in the middle.
How do you meet in the middle?
And that's important to you, the compromise. When you're alone, you don't. It's what you want all the time.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
You know what, Vicky? Because I want to get your perspective. Because I think something that people don't, women especially, just assume when guys want to be alone or that afraid to commit, they just assume because you're trying to get all the girls you can. You know, you're trying to catch them all like Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
And then sometimes I don't think they realize that no, some brothers, it's just what you guys said. It's you know, I have my things a certain kind of way. I like my time. Like, you know, a lot of times people ask a question, but they don't really, you know, mean it. It's like, oh, how was your day? Just give me the abridged version. Don't be talking about how she was trying to sabotage you and everything else. Like, no, I ain't ready for all that yet. Just tell me, like, was it okay? Was it all right?
Yeah.
And an hour after I decompress, we can break down how Sally looked at you funny at lunch, how you think your boss is always out to get you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But Vicky,
Ooh.
yeah, because they gave you a lot.
First, we're gonna come back to this, but I want to understand what you said, Raphael, about need, like to feel that you need a person in your life, right? Okay. So that one and this piece about the other rap said.
This is really funny.
I know.
Don't pay no mind. It's good.
It's
good.
My fault.
The compromising and I guess kind of being ready. So you were talking about it's not really age based, but more so if you're ready to do these type of compromises or whatever. Right. And sometimes I think you do have to be ready to make the sacrifices because working on a relationship is very intentional. Right. So like you said, if you're not ready, you're just gonna stay focused on the career because you know you're not ready to commit to being intentional about working toward compromise and creating a healthy, satisfying, enjoyable space in that relationship. Then you're right. It just goes awry. But one thing about that stood out for me is that if you get to say 40, 45 and you're like, yeah, it's been good, maybe I will meet the one. So for a woman, she's like, okay, so these kids, if I'm going to have some, they needed to happen like 10 years ago. So it sounds like men have a little bit more options to not think about age. Yeah, right? Unless you consider, well, typically 40s, 50s, guys still can crank out kids.
I mean, you want to do
not
that.
So much,
you could be like Tiger Woods' father.
But you see it done, I mean.
Yeah, I don't think that's ideal. Like, I personally, if I was going to do it, I want to still be able to keep up with them. Like, the weight my back. You know what I mean? Like, I think, I'm good. I'm good. Like, I would have wanted to do it. I told myself 35.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't do it.
So you had kind of an age number then.
As far as children.
Number. Oh, for children.
Yeah.
Okay, if you wanted to have children, you had already thought about, I need to be about 35 if I'm going to do it. And if not, they'll just kind of be off the table.
By now, they'd be about 9 and, you know, in another 9 years, they'll be 18. Like right now, if I were to get somebody pregnant tonight, I'd be in my 60s when they graduated high school.
Right.
I'm not doing that. So,
I feel you.
Tonight, if I did it tonight.
And it's not going to happen that fast, so I get you. It's
man, I'm not doing that.
And I don't think people consider that brothers consider that. You know, they
you can still
think about their age, like, you know, like, I could crank some babies out at 50, but I ain't trying to be like Abraham.
That's interesting.
I never wanted to be in my 40s as a first-time dad. I'm sure you can have other kids as well, but as a first-time dad either. Like I've always said, like I've wanted to. You know, your wants don't always get met. But like I know, like growing up, I was saying, like, okay, like my 30s, kids. I think that's what he thinks. I mean, so yeah.
So does that come up in conversation, like when you're dating, or?
I mean, it depends how serious dating is. I think, and it depends the age of the woman too as well. So like, you're dating someone in your 30s and stuff like that, they might bring that up.
They gonna bring it up.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're not bringing it up, you're not that far down the road with this person. Then.
For sure.
Okay. But it's in the back of your mind.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I've always wanted to be a father. That's a value of mine, and to be a good father in that regard. So it's a value that's important to me, and so yeah,
like and that's the thing too. Like you can make kids like well into your. I don't know. I think David Letterman had.
Yeah.
He did. But it's like you want to be active.
Yeah, it's one thing to be a dad.
Yeah.
Be like an actual.
You don't want to just bring him here and then be like, I can't do anything else.
The difference between an active dad and a money dad, right? Like, can I go out there and throw the football with you, or is it like,
I'm actually have a relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
How we're gonna do it.
Yeah. No, I feel you. I know you probably have some perspective on that.
Well, no, I just hear it quite different. I think women don't think that men think about at what age they want to have kids. The assumption is that's something they don't really have to think about. And maybe from a biological perspective, not as much, right? So there's a heavier burden on women to figure it out because their chances, the assumption is.
No, I was just saying, like, us guys, like, all my LBs, I'm out, by the way.
Hey, fight.
I'm sick. But all of my LBs, and most of us are now starting to turn into our 30s and stuff like that. But like, we had all had conversations about like when we want to have kids. So like, even when we're in college, like, oh yeah, I want to do this and this. But like, we've always thought about like when the age you want to have kids. So it definitely is something that's on guys' mind for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting y'all bring that up because I think a lot of times, once again, they're not thinking about the fact that, yeah, we can have a baby whenever, but we still have a time frame of when we feel healthy enough to maintain that.
Yeah.
So I was happy that y'all brought that up because that's a big one. I didn't even have that as a question, but I'm happy that it organically came up because that's another one. Another one, we got about 10 minutes or so because there's like 3 questions I gotta get out. Like we gotta get through.
And then Raphael talk about the need versus.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Whether you feel like you would need a person, like what would make one feel that they need to have an individual?
So, like they are. That's funny. I had lunch with my grandma yesterday, and we were talking about this too. And I said, like, I'm pretty, comfortable in my solitude, Granny. I said, what it would take for me to want to get married is someone who could handle the things that I don't. Like, I was like, I tried to go out and eat every day, but when I don't go out to eat, I don't eat. And she was like, why? I said, you don't. She said, you don't cook. I said, I hate cooking. So I would need a wife who not only can but enjoys it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not something that she does begrudgingly. And I hate having to call and deal with customer service reps. And when I have problems with things, I need someone else to handle that. If I could get someone to do that for me, I just might,
Oh my gosh.
do it.
That's interesting.
It's the executive assistant model,
Yeah.
right? They talk about
I just need
they talk about how
who do the things that I don't want to do.
people don't realize that with men, especially like high value men, and I know what these brothers do for a living, so I'm not going to count y'all pockets on air, but I know y'all okay, right? And the thing is, people don't realize that a lot of women, they go after these guys that have certain incomes, but a lot of these men, they're looking for the convenience of what a wife brings. It's like so many women are looking for a man to do more of a honey-do list for them, and it's like, I didn't marry you to take on your honey-do list. I married you because I was hoping you could work off mine. It's like the trade-off is, look, I'll pay your student. It's like, look, I'll pay your student loans. I'll get your nails done. I'll take you out on dates. I'll bring you in my house. I'll assume a lot of your financial But you know, like, hey, I don't feel like calling Pepco about this bill thing. Can you do that for me?
Yep.
Hey, you know, and women seem so apt for that already because you know you get the order wrong. They quick to be like, no, he said he wanted, right?
Yeah.
He said he wanted mushrooms, and you didn't put the mushrooms on his plate. So you almost like it felt like it's built into them to handle that. So yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and it kind of goes along with what I was gonna say earlier about just the Bible, right? Adam had three things. He had faith, he had godly instruction, and he had proven work before God said, all right, he needs a woman to help him with this.
To complement.
You know what I'm saying? And so you're basically really supporting a lot of what the Word of God says, both of you guys, as far as what you're looking for in a help me. You're not looking for just a pretty trophy thing. You're saying, if I'm going to bring somebody in my life, you have to add value. We have to build life together. And sometimes building life together isn't you working hard or just doing it for the gram. It's, no, what makes life practically better for the both of us.
Yeah.
And you know, and I like the fact that these men are bringing this up because it adds just a little perspective to the conversation.
Yes. And
versus just being just a getting at each other, women versus men, men versus women. You know, it's like, no, like, let's talk this thing out.
Yeah, that's what needs to happen.
And just to add on to that, like, yes, for sure, definitely, it's the helpmate part. You want to help her, right? You want someone that can be able to help you in that regard. But even if we're going back to like the biblical perspective, it's also as us as men realizing there's a second part to that part where it says, husbands, lay down your lives with your wife, right?
Ladies will hold Let me give them my air horn and everything. I'm doing all the drops. The ladies want the ladies is they I'm gonna give them some cheers in the background and everything. The ladies going crazy.
Christ loved the church and he gave his life.
He gave his life. So like at the same time, yes, you want your wife to be able to help you in certain things, but it's also like at any moment, are you also willing to lay down your life for her causes, for her things? So like for me, I don't know, maybe call me a hopeless romantic. But for me, I'm always thinking out of like, how can I outserve my partner? And if none of us are keeping score, then we're both going to accomplish and help each other in whatever we're trying to do, right? But if we are keeping score, then there's some bitterness, there's some resentment that relates and stuff like that. But if we're both saying like, not even say, I think again, I don't say I do this all the time. Hey babe, if you're watching. But I think if you have a certain level of trust that this person has my best interest in heart, that's why I say like trust is important. You'll go ahead and do these things. But if the trust isn't there, it's like you're hesitant to do it because it's like, I don't know. I can't say that you're expecting, but like, anyway, I think trust is a component of it. But like for me, I think a good way to also try to look at a relationship is like, there's no score to keep. You know, love is patient, love is kind, it keeps no record of wrongs, right? It holds no grudges, all that stuff. So like, that too. Just wanted to add that second part.
You know when the scorekeeping starts? When you're doing so much, or one person is doing so much. Yes. And then you notice that it's not being reciprocated. Then you start thinking, well, I did this, and then you didn't do anything.
Right.
Who's not going to have a problem with that?
Right. But I think if you do what Raphael said, was that think about how to outserve your partner.
Yeah.
Right. Many of us, if you didn't grow up having to serve people, then you don't find that that's not something you're constantly thinking. I have 4 children, and I grew up in a family where we had to go take the lady down the street food, or we had to go. So if you brought up serving, you're naturally doing it. And women, depends on kind of how you were raised, tend to be in homes where they have to do more serving kind of. The expectation is they're going to serve. But I think you have to look at from a man's perspective, in what ways have you learned to have a servant heart, a servant attitude? Because I think the idea, the assumption is men are waiting to be served, and not always do we realize that men too are, you know, some men have a servant heart and a servant attitude.
Yeah, like in relationships where my woman would bring like, my plate.
Yeah.
And then she would bring, she would sit down and eat. So if she brought it over, then I would clear the table. If she cooked, I would wash the dishes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like, I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm big on that. It's
Yeah.
gotta be
I
balanced.
think it's
Acts of
important.
service.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I got some questions. We're gonna go over time a little bit, and that's fine, right?
Okay.
We started about 5 minutes behind, so I mean, we're good. We're good. Yeah, this is our show, so I can go as long as I want to, right? I own this house, right? No. Question I got to get out there. Men, like, and this might not be something personal you have to deal with, and maybe it's an old story of yours. Feel free to share if you want to. Heartbreak or feelings of rejection for men. Because I think a lot of times ladies just assume they're the only ones holding, that by themselves. Like, look at all these bags, Erykah Badu. Like, I didn't have my heart broke. He rejected me. It's always their pain. I don't know if they realize men deal with this too. So, from a personal standpoint, or just what you see in your circle of friends, heartbreak and rejection for men.
Does it happen?
Does it happen? How do you think men deal with it? Does it hurt them as much as you think? Because I think a lot of women just think, oh, a guy gets his heart broken, he just had sex with another girl the next day, he's over it.
My last relationship, or the current relationship that I was in, I definitely feel like I got my heart broken. And it's funny because I broke up with the individual, but I felt like I had to do it out of necessity because, like, it was probably the worst year of dating in my whole life. I feel like I was depressed, felt like I was undervalued, felt like a lot of things, and we're not going to go into it because there's healing, amen. But I think that was probably like a few years ago now, but I took a year just by myself, just to really, like, no dating, no nothing, just like, man, I was just chilling, going to work, playing with my dog, whatever. Like, it was just like, and for me, it kind of helped me in going back into, like, my faith, and, like, that's what I was able to lean on during that period. But, like, no, it was definitely a dark time. I just don't think us guys maybe talk about it or vocalize it as much, is because it's almost like, should we be ashamed that we have more feelings than we thought about a girl, or like that's not really like manly for us to, like, really be like, dang, feeling this type of way. Like, but for women, it's like, oh yeah, that's okay if I'm still, like, not over my ex. But for guys, as men, it's like, just like, but why he's tripping? Like, go get another one. Like, and so, like, I think because of that, we'd rather not say anything and suffer in silence. But I think for sure, it definitely happened.
And then for your age demographic, Raphael, like, because I mean, obviously guys are still dating, right? Do you think it's easier to do with the heartbreak? Because there's this conception that even the older as a man gets, the more hardened he is. So he just doesn't care about anything. But I think that's not true. But I want to get your perspective, because I'm 38, but I'm married and everything. So Katrina, she works hard to keep me happy. I'm just messing around. I work hard to keep her happy too, right? But no, just curious your perspective on that.
So you use the word callous, and in a physical sense, where does a callus come from?
Good point.
It forms, like, it's your body is conditioning itself to deal with certain conditions, right? It's like, okay, this is happening. I have to, protect myself from this thing. And I think, conditions vary based on the person. You could be someone who's never had their heart broken, and age and not be that way. And then you could be someone who has dealt with a lot of heartbreak, and they probably will be. So I don't think it's a general thing. As far as dealing with rejection and heartbreak, do I handle it the same way as I did when I was younger? Absolutely not. There was a time where I might not be able to sleep and not want to eat. None of that. occurs. When it comes to it, and I go right to sleep. I might fall asleep mid-conversation. While you're telling me that you know what I mean, I'm not the one for you. I'm sorry.
What?
Yeah, it doesn't bother me. Like,
wait, because that's not that wasn't the one.
What is the one? You know what I mean?
I mean, if you have feelings that ran deep, like I don't think you would fall asleep.
You said something earlier about it was something that you said about oh my God. You were saying something about not being able to control what other people do. All you can do is
Control you. Yeah.
So I think for that reason, you know what it is? When people feel heartbroken and really upset about something that didn't work out, is they were invested in that situation. And I don't put stock in other people so much anymore. And maybe that makes me callous. You know what I mean? Because I know that the only person or the only actions that I have control over are my own. I don't know what you're going to do. You may wake up tomorrow and decide, you know, you like somebody else, or you want to, I ain't it. You know what I'm saying? And I want to be okay with that. Okay.
So it's interesting
Now
because
this
I
is what we got to go to Vickye now, right?
I hear him, and I understand acceptance and commitment therapy, and I hear a part of that, but I also wonder if there's this like 1 foot in, 1 foot out kind of thing, though. If you are kind of afraid to go all in, maybe.
Do you feel like that affects like how you are in the relationship because you're not expecting anything, so you
hold back a little bit, maybe?
Yes. Well, so I'm at a point now, like I feel like most people, you know, I say do the whole relationship thing, date backwards. You know, we tend to meet someone, we decide that we like each other and make a decision to try and be together very early.
Yes.
Right, while the novelty is still there.
Yes.
And now I'm in a place where, well, let's see if we can we be friends with each other first? Let's see how that goes. And if we can, then we can talk about taking it to the next level. Let's establish a friendship, a foundation. Like, you know, do we even like each other that much? Because what happens is, you meet someone, you're attracted to them, you get together, you go out a few times, you talk on the phone, you know how it is. And then you decide, okay, you know what I mean, this is, let's be exclusive. Yeah. And then you get to know each other. And then you realize you don't like each other that much as you thought you did.
And now you're already invested, so you keep the overlooking things. So that goes back to a big thing for me, and that is dating. How do you date? Like, people go exclusive dating first, and then they're committed to the exclusive dating, and then they overlook things, but they've invested the time and energy, and then they stay in it. Yeah. But to me, if you're casual dating, you're kind of doing more where you're talking about, if that's what you're doing, and that is, I'm not investing too much up front because I'm trying to get to know this person as a friend, meaning I'm not putting all the exclusive dating things out there up front. Yeah. Right? And we know what the exclusive dating things are, right? We always at each other's house. There's sex involved. There's buying things. There's all the things, right? And it's happening way too fast. Yeah. And then oftentimes this is where women are messed up in the relationship, because once the guy goes, you know what, I'm not doing that. Mm-hmm. He pulls back. She's trying to figure out why he's pulling back, right? Yeah. But you're stuck in this exclusive situation. I think guys probably figure it out a little sooner. And they do the things that women are like, I don't know why he's, you know, and I'm like, well, casual dating, you would have been better off, but then you could have been like, deuces, I don't really.
Yeah. And you have to break up.
Yeah, you don't have to, you don't
have to tell
right.
So, I think you can be intentional and still not even capture. Let me explain it. My friend Matt turns this terminology, it's called spying the land. And so
I'm with that.
You can spy the land, and what I mean by that, the study that he came up with this is actually in a church setting. So like, I can be interested in you, and I can see how you move, see how you interact in friend groups here, in different circle groups and stuff like that, before even ever making you know that I'm interested in you, right? And that is a way where you can date, really, or spy the land. You can see if this person is even like really. So I think a lot of times, like you were saying, we go straight forward and like making it known that I'm interested in you. And even like that can bring on like fake emotions. Like I'm not speaking from her, but I've heard other women say like sometimes they like a guy just because like they show interest. So like so now like me like I like back. So like for me like this term like spot
But do they really like him?
Yeah, but they really like him. They just like the attention. Yeah. Right, and so I think it's like this terminology of spying the land. Like let me just see how you interact. Let me watch you for a couple months. Let me actually get other people's perspective. Like, you're close with this pastor. Like, hey, what you think about so and so? You know what I mean? Like, you have no idea that I'm doing all this research, or this like I'm still being intentional about it. Like I'm still kind of gathering all my facts and stuff like that. And then like so now, if I'm good off of it, I'm good. You never knew anything like that, and so like that's also an approach that you can go instead of just saying like, hey, but you can kind of like do your work on the back end too as well.
But that's assuming that you're going to see this person again.
Right.
What if you're at like a social gathering?
Right.
This is somebody that.
Well, you can do it on a small level there, maybe.
It's about.
Well, what I'll bring up while you talk about it, because this is a question that comes up: social media.
I was about that.
Social.
Social media can be also through social media, watching their stories. Okay.
Oh, hold it.
But you're showing highlight reels. You're not being real.
You're
not going to show them what's wrong with you.
Let's talk about that.
Look at my dirty apartment. Look at my toilet. Like,
that's real.
True.
Yeah.
Wait, but come on. And this is the thing that comes up for women is that they put a lot of the
Good
things
stuff
out there, all the great things, and guys are liking things, right?
Yeah.
And
got them filters up.
Well, unfortunately, that then becomes a kind of a message to them. Now you're communicating to them. They're enthralled by it.
Okay.
And then
like
when you don't
liking their pics and stuff like that.
right. And then let's just say you DM and y'all talk a little bit, but you kind of just slide over here and you don't DM for a long time, but you keep liking the pics. And she's like, why is he acting like this? He was liking my pictures yesterday. Yeah. I'm blocking him because he didn't. Ooh. It becomes a thing. And so it's interesting because I'll say, well, they can browse you and 20 other women that are like, they spy the land. And when you do it, in particular on social media, there's a communication that's happening, whether y'all realize it or not. If you're liking pictures,
right.
Oh my goodness! Women take that as communication.
And the thing is that you might be one of 50.
Right. That's what I'm saying. You could be.
Yeah. You only see what's going on between you and her.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I'm more so was saying as far as just taking in information. Like,
which I think
seeing what she posts. Okay, like she posts this article. Let me see what her intellect. She has some type of value or substance.
Is it all this self-development, or are you really into black activism?
I'm not saying it's a complete picture of who it is, but there could be like a little bit of hint of she posted an interesting podcast on Black Renaissance. And I don't know, maybe, all right, we have something in common. We can talk about that, but I do agree there is still artificial in social media, but I feel like you can still spy the land from that. You don't have to like anything. You can just again, I'm all about note taking. Tuck it away. All right, maybe we'll bring this up in a conversation. If you're in a place to see that person, I'm talking like it's a coworker or somebody that you would see regularly or a mutual friend. Now, if it's not, that's a whole different story. I think maybe how you can still date from spying the land in that perspective is you are now inviting that person to a group setting, or I got to
one-on-one.
Yeah, as compared to a one-on-one where you're still hey, had a really cool conversation, blah blah blah. Me and my boy Juan throwing a cookout, roll through, pour with somebody very chill. You can even pour with another person, just make it chill, and then you get to also still see that person interact in a group setting as well.
So women need to know then if they get, say, a DM and they're invited to, say, even a group setting.
Yeah.
They need to know you're spying the land and not necessarily,
No,
I'm just interested
because then they're going to act, accordingly.
Yeah.
Well, no.
You
I'm
think they might
saying,
put up a front
If they know they're being observed,
on your best behavior.
yeah.
no, I'm not saying.
She's going to tell them, I want you to know that.
You listen.
She said, the Lord need to know. Look what you did.
Well, because I
Game
think
to play back.
what happens is they misinterpret what that means. So then they're like, oh, well, he was. And I'm like, well, maybe he was just trying to get
Well, so
lucky.
maybe you could just say like up front, like, hey, this little barbecue come through.
Yeah.
There'll be a couple people there if you want to hang with us.
I think that's that. Like how she responds says a lot more. Like that's also that tells me a lot right there. Like how she responds to that. Like, oh, is this a date or blah blah blah. I'm like, chill.
Well, you just said the right word then.
Yeah.
It's chill. Like, just take it easy.
Take it
This
easy.
doesn't mean it's just you.
Yeah.
I might see today
Yeah.
or somebody else. Like, chill. You have some interest, but I just want to get to know you a little bit better. You're not necessarily the one.
Yeah, I don't know if I would be thinking that. But I would.
Kind of curious as to say it.
Like, yeah.
Pretty delicate.
Yeah. For sure.
And then look, last question, right? It'd be the most basic question I've asked the whole time, but a lot of ladies want to know. So, what's more important? Is it the beauty, the booty, or is it the personality?
Please don't make the last question. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Oh,
Please tell me about dating apps first, and then like
yeah.
social media, dating apps, yes or no?
Yeah, because we kind of talked about social media, but we didn't talk about dating apps.
Yeah.
A lot of people are swiping left, swiping right. There's Bumble, there's
And,
Plenty of Fish.
Yeah.
Tinder.
Yeah.
Please don't do it like that's the young folks.
Yeah. But that's a good question though, because Rahel 28, so you got your LBs around your age, just turning 30,
Yeah.
but then you're 44. So is the dating apps? Because I hear of women who are like 41, 42 talking about they're still in the dating apps, right? So
I personally don't have any experience with dating apps. I have LBs and stuff. I don't know any of my black male friends, unfortunately, that have done it seriously, looking for a relationship.
So it's
I
looking.
didn't know
It's the
that.
booty.
Thank you, Ralph.
Not trying
This is
to
picture. It's picture driven. You're looking at
It really looks like
Just like
you
I
look
do
good.
and all the others. It's
All right. I don't know. I don't know anyone that's close to my circle that's literally been like, oh, I'm about to find my wife or my partner here on this app.
That says a lot in itself.
Leave it right there.
Raphael.
So you're looking to meet this person pretty much from observing.
Actually, hold on. I actually do know one person that has maybe not intentionally looking that way, but they ended up
kind of
clicking
Okay.
and fall off that way. So yes, I actually do know one person. Actually, now that I think about it,
but
yeah.
not mature.
Not like they went into it like, all right, I'm being so like, here we go, like. But yeah.
Raphael, how about for you? Like when you look at yourself, maybe guys in your age group, your friend group,
So, us Raphaels, we do not do dating apps. Can I get some of that?
Yes,
I've never
yes,
been
sir.
on any of them.
Yeah,
Like
never.
I prefer like just
Never.
organic, chemistry. I don't believe that chemistry can be manufactured because I feel like, it is what it is.
It is, man.
And you cannot change that. If anything, you just be pretending that it's something else, and then eventually your arms will get tired of holding up that facade, and it'll be
You
back to
confident
what it
in it.
is.
Yeah.
So I don't even and I know that like you said, it's all smoke and mirrors. You know what I mean? Like it's pictures. They're telling you everything that they want you to believe about them.
Right.
It may not even be true.
Right.
You know what I mean? And yeah, I just never.
Yeah.
It's never been of interest to me.
Now I'm not for all y'all that do dating apps and have found love.
Nah, man,
be
clear.
More power to you, but it's not for us. It's not for us, right? Yeah,
Well, it's interesting because I hear a lot of women saying, I'm getting off these apps because they want to meet somebody organically. They want to meet them face to face. They want to get a vibe. And I think that men also, that's really when they want to meet somebody, really get to know them, that's how they want to meet them.
I would say this, like, I feel like a lot of people have that intentionality of like they want to, but like they'll go into those same settings when they're talking to someone and they'll still be weird. Like, I don't know,
yes,
like you'll
it
bring
does
up
something.
stuff
Well, because you've
on, like,
seen
the
too much sometimes.
Yeah, so
you got this idea already.
Yeah, you'll jump
Or anxiety.
first 3 minutes in the conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, so how many kids you want? Like, wait, what's your last? Like, what do you need?
It turns into an interview real fast.
I've heard guys,
Turns into an
especially
interview real
guys
quick.
like between your age group, you're talking about you're in that point where you're in your professionalism, or you've been working in the professional world, so kind of like seasoned individuals in corporate America. A lot of girls will see, like, and both of these guys, good-looking guys, they're both tall. They're both tall ladies, right? So, but that's what they're looking for. So then it's almost like, are you dating me? Or are you dating my seed, right? And I've heard guys that feel like it's like, I feel like somebody's interviewing my sperm. Like, what child am I going to give you? It's like, hello, they're still me. You realize I'm going to be the father to the child, or is that your intention?
Wow.
They exclude me out the picture the second the baby gets here. You know, they'll be like, just give me the child support. I'll raise the child myself.
Yeah.
That I hear a lot of guys. That's a big concern of theirs. They feel like they get into the dating world. And it's like
That
you're
sounds
interviewing my sperm.
I've never in my life experienced that. Not ever.
I
Not ever.
haven't, and if I have, I probably could. I did it real. You can kind of like, not to see that you can see gold diggers, but like, or people of that type of mindset are artificial. But like, if you have enough conversations, if you're not dating someone based purely off of like your attractiveness to them, like you may miss that. But if you're asking the right questions, like, hey, like, what's important to you about family? What is important to you about your faith? What is important to you about, like, how high do you place like telling the honesty, or like, are you like stingy with your money? Like, if you're having more so of those conversations, like, you'll be able to see if that person is truly there. And that's why I think like it's important to, like, when you are going into the date, like, talk. Like, don't just always talk about sex, or don't just always talk about like, what's your favorite position, or that type. Like, no, like, let's actually, like, I want to, because at the end of the day, right, if this person is someone that you end up being with long term, they're not always gonna look the same. I think we all know this, right? But like, going back to my namesake here, saying you gotta be able to like the person. So like, when I'm 60, 70, 80 years old and we just looking at each other like, dang, at least can we like laugh? Like, like,
Have an engaging
you know
conversation.
what I mean? Like, you can talk about something, like, I don't know, like, so that's important too.
Yup. Like, I also feel like, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel about once you are married and functioning as one, having personal bank account?
Yeah. Whew.
Like, having your own money to the side.
Loaded question.
Ooh, you trying to make.
You completed that, bro.
I already did that part. That part of my relationship. I don't know.
I'm gonna speak for myself. That's all I can do. For me, what I've learned, and even just seeing my parents' marriage, I think one of the struggles that they've always had, and for a lot of people, it comes down to finances.
Yeah.
Right? And it's literally like, it's not even, it's literally, because finances, you want to know what someone cares about, see where they spend their money. Truly, right? And so, like, I think from a financial perspective, like, if you're coming into marriage, for me personally, I would want for me and my wife to have the same account. And I say this only because I've seen my parents try to do it separately, and they've always tried to keep score as who paid for this, who paid for what, who paid for that. And like, even like, cause there's a point where my dad was making more money, then it's switching, my mom was making more money. So now it's like, we're throwing jabs, cause like now, oh yeah, I'm throwing. So for me, I've always wanted to be like, all right, this is our money.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
And we're
understand
gonna
that.
go into this like, so that's just me.
Throw it all in the pot.
Yeah.
Pay all the bills out of it. What we got left?
That's
What do
right.
we have left?
Right.
Yeah.
How much money do we have?
Yeah, how much money do we got?
Right.
Yeah. So I'm about to go ahead and get ready to wrap things up. We went like about 15 minutes over, but we got good. This is
content.
great. I'm about to have y'all back again because I feel like this conversation still has like another 2 hours.
We
in
have
it.
to, because I have to ask them for the younger guys about, because we were talking about rejection, and so my younger boy, I have sons.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't ask for numbers anymore, Mom. That's old. Like,
Yeah.
and I said, why not? Well, because what if you get rejected? So I just asked for IG or Snap, and then.
And that's a
they're
more
more
easier
like-
thing for most people to
And
share.
I was like,
It's
so
easy.
women do believe that men are losing their skills, how they step to a woman. And I'm like, my boy just proved that by saying no, because I could get rejected if I ask for the number. So I might just ask for
And
IG.
then we live in a
that's a little
PC
bit
side
softer.
society. They make it
And-
hard to
well,
approach
I was
women
about to
too.
say,
Like,
and they did say that, and that's kind of private. So I was like, okay, so ask for number now is actually private. But you just post all your crap over IG, and that's not. Like,
these
I don't-
cultural
It's
new
so-
norms are kind of
right,
they
it's
make things kind of
confusing.
complicated. Yeah.
So next time.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts, Vicky? You know, being the therapist in the room, some of what you heard, maybe some key things that maybe the ladies watching should have listened to. Maybe some key takeaways from the fellas that were watching based off this conversation we had today.
Yeah, so I'm gonna start with one. We talked about it early, and that is, Ralph had mentioned like you kind of need to know yourself, know your experiences, what you've been through, men, right? And find a place to talk that through. So therapy is open to black men. There are more black therapists, more and more. And so that's a lot of times we think I don't have any major issues, I don't have any, right? And that's because we only self-checking. But it's good to just let somebody walk it through with you. Just to kind of get a feel for where you have had some impacts. There's a lot of trauma that's untalked about in the black community, and we all see it as a badge. We all been, we all been through it, so no need to address it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
When really it has an impact on how we relate to one another, and we need to start there, and that is get the help. Secondly, I love that you guys have talked about just how black men think more and how they interact in relationships. And I find it interesting that women probably don't think black men think like this. That they're thoughtful about values and when they want to have kids and what's important to them, what makes them feel like they would want and need a woman in their lives. So it's important to hear that. I mean, there's a lot of trash talk out there among men and women right now. But it would be good to hear more and more about what black men think about dating and how they view relationships. Because we just hear the fights, right? And usually women are more vocal and men are throw out their anger piece and then that's it. But we really don't know much about how you guys feel about relationships and how you manage going about obtaining a healthy relationship. He said that's sitting with you right there.
No, it's just my thoughts on why and how that began. I feel like it's very prominent in because I know she's saying like black men and black women. It's very prominent in the black community. I don't really notice, and maybe because I'm not tuned in, but like Asian, people doing that to each other, or even white people. You know what I mean? It's like us, and I know where that comes from. Another day.
It's hard.
But I'll say this. I feel like I'll be glad when we, black people, black men and black women, get back to feeling like we need each other.
Yeah.
And like, a lot of
Not enemies.
Yeah.
we need each other.
Not enemies.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I like that.
Absolutely. And then women get off the apps. The men don't really care for them that much. They just.
Now let's wrap it up. Can't speak for any likes, Tonys. Let's wrap it up.
They want to meet people. I know. I do love it that you guys want to meet people organically. You're not just.
Want to meet them in the grocery store.
Right. You
Target.
too want that.
Yeah.
Not just the women. The men want it too.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Any other thoughts? that stuck with you?
I think that's good.
This was good, guys. Once again, I want to thank you guys for coming on. Vicky, Raphael.
Thank you.
This was
guys.
great.
I appreciate it.
I want to probably have y'all back again soon because this is always an ongoing conversation. People are always asking for relationship talk and the nitty gritty. I think one thing we try to do is we try to cut through a lot of the versus stuff and just get to the real, feelings. And that's why we always try to have expertise with the guided conversation by having Vicky here, a therapist, that can help us kind of guide this conversation and then validate some of these things that we're seeing in therapy that we're helping to have people have breakthroughs in relationships, right? Because the goal of these conversations is not to create more animosity, diversity. The goal is to start bringing people back together. And I like the fact that you brought that because that's going to be like a closing thought of mine is we're having these conversations not to be sensationalized. Nitty Gritty show could have been syndicated on TV. We just want to do more trash talk about each other. But we're not trying to do that here. It's like, how do we bring families together, especially in our community? Other communities watch the show benefit from it too. But it's like, how do we bring people back together? And I'm happy that you guys brought up a lot of perspective to help ladies look at this and not have more, all right, here's just more guns in the chamber to shoot at the brothers. It's like, nah, like, now I know how to better communicate to my kings. And, and other men hopefully heard this and say, here's something to think about when I'm talking to my queens. Right?
It's like I think who extends the olive branch first?
Yeah.
Who's gonna be the one to do that?
So it's like maybe if we just all rush to kind of please each other, rush to serve each other, don't have to worry about who's doing it first. We
should make a holiday.
And I think as married, as being a married woman for 22 years and Black marriages also need to have a place where people can see healthy relationships. And so a lot of times I love it when I have Black couples in therapy because that means they're working at it. No, it's not easy. But also, and I love it when I have younger Black couples in therapy because they're starting early trying to make sure that this lasts, that they get the tools. That's what I always tell them, at least you're here. I know you're upset and it doesn't seem like it's going to work out, but at least you're here.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and I'm one of those people. I vouch for Vicky, right? I believe Black couples definitely need therapy because there's just sometimes you can have a conversation with your mate, but something about that third voice, and a lot of times men deflect be right. Like so I told you that already. You didn't take all that, but you know what? After a while, you get past that. You be like, I'm just happy you hear it.
Yeah.
I'm just happy I heard you.
We all
after a while, you stop keeping score, and you're like, you know what? I'm just happy we're hearing each other. And we're not arguing, or we're able to avoid an argument because we have better understanding. It's like I'm not even keeping score. I'm just happy that we're building something very healthy that we can be proud of. 65 years from now, 20 years from now, whatever. So, like I said, this was dope. Before we leave out, I'm gonna do some birthdays, y'all. I'm about to play a little bit of Paul in the background. We do the happy birthdays in the Nitty Gritty show. You guys can't hear it, but they can hear it. You know what I'm saying? I got the whole little soundboard. I've been dropping bombs and stuff the whole time.
Gotcha.
I love my soundboard, y'all. Happy birthday to Raina Polite. Happy birthday to Brandon Avant. Happy birthday to Juanita Gauthier, Jared Holcomb, Brian Reynolds, Carl White, Mike Baker, Rob Lee, Merlin Pierre, Matt Robertson, Richard and Nathaniel Altar. Last but not least, those are my brothers. Happy birthday to you guys. Also, we celebrate Black love here on the Nitty Gritty show. Clarence and Virginia Gerald, 55 years. Tyrell Janine Hughes, 8 years. And then Karen and Casper Davis just got married. So congratulations to all of my married people. Once again, Raphael, and Vicky, thank you guys for being on the show.
Absolutely.
And we got to also always plug in our sponsors. Shout out to Plugged In Customz, LLC. They're located here in 4910 Buchanan Street, Hyattsville, Maryland. You can find them on IG at pluggedin_in_customs with a Z. You can email them at pluggedincustoms@gmail.com. And then don't forget, you can also find them on Facebook at Plugged In Customz. Once again, that's Plugged In Customz with a Z. Thank you for everybody on YouTube that was watching and IG that tuned in today. We thank you so much. If you like this video, comment, like it, share it with someone else. You can see in the description all the different places you can find the Nitty Gritty show. Don't forget that tomorrow night, 9 p.m., we go live to react to House of Dragons, which is actually on right now or available to watch on HBO Max. So we'll look for you guys tomorrow. Thank you guys for being on the show once again. Really appreciate you. We can't wait to have you guys back on. It's the Nitty Gritty Show, y'all. We are out.